My name is Jerry Gill. Today is September 23, 2010. I'm visiting with Kenneth Mitchell here on Oklahoma State University campus in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And this interview is for the O State Storage Project of the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program. Ken, I appreciate you coming and taking time to visit with us today.
Happy to.
And we want to talk about your lifelong relationship with Oklahoma State University and especially with the Alumni Association. But first of all, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your early life, a little about where you grew up and your parents and your family, some things about you before you got to Oklahoma State.
Okay, I was born in Oklahoma City. My father and my mother had attended the University of Oklahoma together and were married while they were in college, which is very much of a rarity in the 1920s. My father was an assistant county attorney in Oklahoma County and ran for county attorney and was defeated. We kind of grew up during the Big Depression, the 1920s and the early 30s, and my father and mother divorced, and I was in the first grade. I went to kindergarten and first grade at Edgemere School in Oklahoma City, and my grandparents took us in, so to speak, and we moved to Guthrie in December of 1933. I went all through the Guthrie Public Schools and enlisted in the Navy and got out and came to school here in 1946.
Ken, let me back up and ask you, do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm an only child.
Only child, okay. And can you talk a little bit about maybe some of your high school community activities when you were growing up in Guthrie?
Well, I didn't know girls existed really when I was in high school, but
You smiled when you said that.
I was very interested in athletics. I didn't grow until I was a senior, and I played on the high school basketball team and the high school baseball team. We only had 3 sports at that time, and I didn't think I was big enough for football. I wish now that I had tried to be the punter and the place kicker. I think I could have won both jobs, but that's history, long gone.
What position did you play in baseball?
Third base.
You had a pretty good arm? And usually third base, you got a pretty good arm.
Yeah. I pitched some too. Well, not in high school, but later.
Do you remember some of your batting average?
We lost only 1 game my senior year. We didn't play many teams. We lost to Oklahoma City Central 2-1 in the state tournament, in the semifinals of the state baseball tournament. That was the only game we lost. I played summer baseball the next summer before I enlisted in the Navy, and we were undefeated. We played teams from everywhere.
Was that an American Legion team?
We were not an American Legion team, but we played American Legion teams. We did not have a sponsor. We just had a gentleman that worked at a lumber yard that liked young men and put it together for us. And we didn't have very fancy uniforms or anything. But in fact, getting back to uniforms, we played in the state tournament in Oklahoma City. We did not have a coach my senior year in high school. We played on our own. And 4 of us had what we called Old Guthrie Merchants baseball uniforms. They were big old blousy pants and shirts, and we looked like anything that shouldn't have been in them. But and our center fielder, he's still alive, and I remember him playing center field in Levi's and a baseball shirt. And but we played south side of Altus in the first round and beat them. And then in the next game that we had was Oklahoma City Central, and we got beat 2-1.
And without a coach, I mean, you got to the semifinals of the state tournament. Wow.
Without a coach.
Ken, what about other activities outside of athletics? Were you involved in school activities, clubs, organizations?
We didn't have, it's during the war, and things were a lot different. Many of our students had, I had 7 classmates that left our class and went into the military. We had a class of 100, and 7 of them had already gone to the military, and everything was pretty tight. Money was tight. There weren't activities. We had no annuals during my 3 years in high school because of the shortage of paper and shortage of money to put it out. And so it was pretty sparse what we did. But we had many students that worked at Tinker Field and commuted. They get out of school and get on a bus there by the high school at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go to Tinker and work till midnight and then come home and go to school the next day. Start the cycle all over again.
Can you tell me about your grandparents? You said you moved in with your grandparents. Can you tell me a little bit about what they did?
My grandfather came to Oklahoma from Indiana. He worked for the Grand Trunk Railway in Indiana, and he came to Oklahoma and worked for the Santa Fe Railroad. He was yardmaster in Oklahoma City when the Capitol building was built, and all of the freight and stuff for the Capitol went through him. And then they moved back to Guthrie, and he retired in 1936 from the Santa Fe Railway because of health reasons. And his last job was he was a conductor on what we call the Doodle Bug from Guthrie that went to Kiowa, Kansas, which was a cutoff place, shortened the trip to California by rail. And the Doodle Bug had a engine and 1 car, and half of the car was for freight and the other half was for passengers. It had no air conditioning, and it was operating off of coal. And if you wore a white shirt in the summertime with the windows open, it wasn't white by the time that you got to Kansas. But my grandfather died in the Santa Fe Hospital at Mulvane, Kansas.
What year was that?
1940.
40. Okay.
He had heart trouble.
Again, what year did you graduate from high school there?
1945.
1945. Okay. So now you went.
I enlisted in the Navy on July the 19th of 1945, 2 days before I would become 18 years old, and I did not want to be drafted because we were still having a very heated war in the Pacific, and they were drafting young men into the Marine Corps. And I decided that I preferred to sleep on a hammock rather than I did in a foxhole. And my best friend and I enlisted the same day in the Navy.
Let me back up and ask you real quick. You're might as well kind of get this out now. You're a real railroad buff.
Yes, I am.
Did that come from your granddad?
From my grandfather. My mother actually worked for the Santa Fe Railway during World War I, and I had a great uncle that was a fireman with the Santa Fe Railroad. So I have a little Santa Fe in my blood.
I understand you got to do some traveling as a young man,
Yes,
a boy, really.
I had a pass until I was 12 years old. We traveled to Chicago to the World's Fair and in the mid-30s, the World's Fair in San Diego, and the World's Fair in 1939, I believe it was, at San Francisco. So I got to see quite a few World's Fairs, and I visited a lot of relatives in various places that we could travel for virtually free. Great
experience going to those kind of places as a kid.
Yes, it was.
Again, you you have, understanding your home there, and you live south of Guthrie.
Yes.
You have 2 railroad cars?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have
your
a
property?
Canadian Pacific, what we call a parlor car. It sleeps 16, has a kitchen and a dining room that we've had meetings when I was president of the OSU Alumni Association. We had a couple of board meetings over there in the railroad car, and I used it when I was president of the Oklahoma Land Title Association for several of my board meetings. It was Guthrie's just about as central as you can get in Oklahoma, and so it worked out for everybody, and we had good meetings there.
And your other railroad cars?
It's a caboose.
Oh, okay.
And we had a foreign exchange student from Brazil living with us. My oldest son's, or our oldest son's, senior year in high school. They don't have the word caboose in Portuguese in Brazil, so he didn't know what he was getting into. And as soon as he got to Guthrie, I taught him how to, he was a soccer player, and I taught him how to kick extra points and got him to go out for the high school wrestling team. Unfortunately, our high school team that year didn't score very much, and so he didn't get to kick many extra points. And by the time he was through with wrestling, he finally could win. He spent all that time learning, and he made a pretty good little wrestler at the end. But it was a new experience for him, and it was a new experience for us, because neither of us spoke any Portuguese, and it was a learning.
Ken, what were some principles and values that you learned growing up that helped you in your success later in life?
Well, one of the things that I learned was honesty. To be with people and to be honest with them, to tell them the truth. I learned at a very early age that alcohol was something that I did not need to be a part of. My father was an alcoholic, and he ruined a very promising career because of alcoholism, and it made me make up my mind that alcohol was not going to be any part of my life, and it has not been a part of my life. And that's another thing that I learned. And I've learned that I get a great deal of pleasure from volunteering and working with people less fortunate, and which I've done for many, many, many years.
Where did that come from, Ken, in your background, do you think?
Well, I grew up during the Depression. We had no money. It was very, very difficult for my mother. She sold dresses and worked as a church secretary for practically nothing. And we had it pretty tough. And so being an only child, I experienced it all firsthand. And we have 6 children today, and I want them to have things that I didn't have. That's just pure and simple.
What influenced you in role in Oklahoma State? Let me back up. So your Navy career, in what, July of 45?
Till August of 46.
46, you're in 1 year in the Navy.
And I got 3 years of the GI Bill out of that 1 year of service.
Now here's the kicker for an OSU guy. Where were you assigned?
Norman, Oklahoma. I was a lifeguard. And I was a bench warmer on the softball team. I traveled with the softball team, didn't get to play much, but we had some guys that were later played professional baseball in major leagues. And so it was pretty hard to make the team.
So this was the naval-based team?
In Norman.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. What influenced you in role at Oklahoma State?
my dad wanted me to go to law school at OU, and he'd kind of been counting on me to do that. And I had a mistaken idea of what lawyers did or do to make a living. I know much more about it today, and I have some regrets that I didn't go to law school. I was treated in Norman, I felt, much like many military people are in small towns, that the people of the community kind of look down on you and tolerate you. And I had about enough of that, and Bob Curlin was doing so great over here in basketball, and I loved basketball, and I used to see him play when I was still in high school. And so I decided that I would come to Oklahoma State to school rather than go to OU, because people just didn't, I didn't fit with them.
Had you been to Stillwater before you?
Oh yes,
enrolled?
many times. Many times. It's a lot closer than Norman.
Did your granddad take you over there? Or?
No, just friends usually. That I came to football games over here when that stadium was awfully small, and so
you just sort of liked the experience, decided you'd like to go there?
I liked it, and I was turned off in Norman because of the way people viewed us, and I thought, well, why should I go through 4 years more of this at least? And if I went to law school, it'd be even more. And I decided I'd come over here.
So you enrolled in fall of 46?
Yes, just barely got out of the Navy in time to come over here.
What was your major?
Well, that was a good question. I started out, I thought I wanted to major in chemistry. The mathematics of chemistry, I didn't have the background for it. That was my own fault. And so I switched to journalism, and my degree is in journalism.
I want to ask you a bit later about that, but I don't recall that you used that degree very much. But
I used it when I first got out of college. I went to work for the Guthrie Public Schools, and I was clerk of the Board of Education. But I always had a love of athletics, and so I was the announcer for the home football games for a couple of years or 3, and I wrote for one of the newspapers in Guthrie. I received the magnificent sum of 10 cents a column inch for what I wrote, and I followed Guthrie athletics and wrote a lot of stories for the newspaper.
Well, maybe to kind of stepping back, your OSU experience, to ask you a few questions there. First of all, did you live on campus?
Yes, I lived in Thatcher Hall all 4 years, and I worked for the OOHRP my senior year, and I was sports editor of the OOHRP.
Okay.
And I also, Dr. Rife, who was head of the national program, and he gave me a job of editing 4 issues of the magazine. Can't think of the name of it right at the moment.
Can you share some your OSU undergraduate experiences, activities you're involved with, organizations, things you did?
Well, money was pretty tight. The GI Bill, when we came to OSU, paid us $65 a month to pay our room and board. Our books were furnished, our tuition was furnished. But it didn't take very long to the university to find out that the $65 wasn't enough. So we were paying $41.50 for room and board at that time a month, and they gave us a raise to $75 and raised the room and board to $51.50.
Wow.
so it was a pass-through. But it made you watch your money. There wasn't very much, and I didn't have many other jobs till virtually my junior year that brought me in any money, and I had to pay my own way through my senior year, and because I'd run out of the GI Bill.
Were you involved in any journalism, group clubs or any organizations?
I was in Sigma Delta Chi journalism fraternity, and I really wasn't a part of anything else. I had a lot of fun being sports editor because I didn't get to travel at all when the basketball team was gone, but I set up a system of listening to the OSU basketball games and keeping score from the radio. And then I wrote specials to the old Collegian, giving the story of the basketball games.
So there's some pretty good basketball teams, Mr. Iba, in those days, and then of course.
Yes. And I took Mr. Iba's coaching basketball course, and I took Ralph Higgins' coaching track course because I liked athletics, and they were both good experiences.
So how about Art Griffith? Was he the wrestling coach then?
Yes, he was there, and I knew his boys. I knew Jack better than I did Jim, but I loved wrestling, and I had two wrestlers that lived across the hall from me in Thatcher Hall. Bill Jernigan, who was an Olympian in 1948, and another one from Edmond that was on the wrestling team.
That's great. What was some favorite student hangouts back then where you'd go?
We used to go to the hamburger joint that was down, it's no longer there. It's just off of 6th Street, just north on Campus Corner. I mean, can't remember the name of it.
Used to be the Aggie Bee. What an Aggie Bee was it?
I don't remember what it was, but when I had any money to buy, that was one of the places that I always went. But we had a lot of fun. The guys that I lived with in Thatcher Hall, several of them I knew, still alive, that are friends that we had in Thatcher Hall. And we pulled pranks on each other all the time, which college kids do. We had one friend, and he lives in Oklahoma City right now, that complained that my roommate and I got all the mail, and he wasn't getting any mail. And so one rainy day, I had an extra $1. I don't know where I got it, but I had an extra $1, and I bought a 101-cent postcards, penny postcards, and I cut up all the magazines that I could find in the dorm, especially those that had samples of fruitcake or something like that you could send in for, and I put his name on all of those. And many months later, I was in his room, and he had a place about 3.5 feet high, covered with a blanket. And we asked him, what do you got under that blanket? He said, pulled that back and showed all that mail that he'd been getting. And he got it for 6 or 8 years after he graduated. He was still on the mailing list of many of those people. But we pulled pranks on each other all the time. The Old Collie office was right where the student union is today. And you had to go by the post office to get up the stairs to the Old Collie office. Well, I had a gentleman come in one day, and he looked at me, and I kind of looked at him across the room, and I saw he had a hearing aid on. And he came over to ask somebody in the office where I was, and he thought he had me picked out. He did. And he said, I'm F.M. Adams, the Beltone hearing aid man from Enid. And he said, I'm glad to see you don't need one. And he said, I have this card here that somebody sent in on your behalf for a hearing aid test. And he said, by the way, I've got about 15 or 20 more cards. I said, I wonder if you know any of them, whether they need hearing aids or not. And I said, yeah, I'll be glad to look at it for you. And I knew every one of them. They were all athletes, and they'd all set them in on each other for the hearing aid. And my friend that I had pulled this prank on with all the mail finally found out who did it. And so he fixed me up, and he ordered me a dozen assorted brassieres and COD. And I had to go up the stairs. The post office was here and the stairs were here, and I had to go up to the Oak Collie to work. And I was scared they were going to catch me and want me to pay for those brassieres. We were doing stuff like that on each other, and when I was in chemistry, we made some hydrogen sulfide and put outside the dormitory window of some of our buddies, and of course it stunk up the whole dormitory, and we thought we'd probably get kicked out of school for doing that, but we had a lot of fun. It didn't spend a lot of money doing anything, but we had a lot of fun.
You know, think about it, you're being in Thatcher Hall, wasn't it right across the street from Swims?
Yes.
Swims still kind of big student place at that time?
Yep.
Did you ever go over to Swims?
Oh, yes. When I had a dime or something, I had a few Coke dates over there.
You were far from the campus corner,
No.
right? By the fire station?
Yeah.
So did you hang out there a little bit occasionally?
Yeah, when I had any money.
All right.
Money was tight, and especially if you drove a car. And I didn't keep a car over here. I drove it special occasions. If I had a date or something, I brought my old 40 Ford from home, and I used it for summer school one summer, and it didn't run very well, and I didn't have money to fix it. My lights went out one night. I had a date in Perry. Guthrie was playing Perry football game, and I went to a filling station. They didn't have time to help me or do anything, and so I had to drive home in the dark. I followed this friend that used to coach our baseball team. He, of course, didn't know I was behind him, and we were on Old 77, which was 2-lane. And the Santa Fe train that came through Guthrie at midnight was coming to Guthrie, and he decided to race it. And I was behind him. I had a date, and another guy had a date, and we got up with a big old truck, and it left a crease right along my right side, passenger side of my car. And I had to pass him, and I did pass him. I got home the next day, took the car to a place to see what it was going to cost to fix it. $25 seemed like all the money in the world to me. I got me a 25-cent roll of friction tape, got underneath there and taped up all of the bad places. Fixed it myself for $0.25. Things I remember.
Great. Well, were there some faculty and staff members at that time, Ken, that you remember that were influential in your student development? Some faculty or staff members that are special to you?
Yes. The Oklahoma history professor, he was an excellent history professor. He made me look bad one day, and I made up my mind that was the last time he was going to make me look bad. And so I got on his good side because I answered every one of his questions, and he lived across the street from Thatcher Hall.
That B.B. Chapman?
Dr. Chapman,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I got on his team and didn't have to go to class anymore. It was an A. And I went around to several small high schools,
Mm-hmm.
and we put on programs on Oklahoma history.
Mm-hmm.
But the question he asked me was about the Red River oil case. I've always remembered that.
Mm-hmm.
Was what that argument was whether it belonged to Oklahoma or whether it belonged to Texas. And I didn't answer it the first time to his satisfaction, but I made up my mind I was going to learn. And I was in with a bunch of guys that were much older than I was. A lot of them were athletes with the athletic department. One of the guys had been with Alfalfa Bill Murray when he blockaded the bridge between Oklahoma and Texas. And he was from Blackwell, but he was much older than I was in this class. But Dr. Chapman really helped me understand Oklahoma history, and I still love Oklahoma history. It was one of my favorite subjects over here.
Yeah, Oklahoma History 101 is fun, fun, fun.
Yeah.
I know one of his sayings.
B.B. Chapman. I couldn't think of his name. Thank you. But he was one of my favorite. My mother had been in school with a guy named Gerald Forbes who taught history, and I still remember him. I was making a straight A in that course, and I had a lot of my friends couldn't pass the course, and so they were wanting to sit by me and I was helping them pass it. And this was freshman year, and my mother was in school with him at OU, and I mentioned that to him, of course. I guess he remembered my mother, but anyhow, when the grades came out, I had a B in the course and an A in orientation, and it should have been the other way around, but he left and went to New Orleans, to Tulane, I think, to teach, and or wherever it is, Louisiana. And I never did get the B straightened out, but I helped several of my friends pass that course because they couldn't pass it otherwise.
Can you think about the campus then? There was a big transition after the war. Dr. Bennett, President Henry G. Bennett, brought in a lot of the barracks and the Quonset
one of the things that I remembered, they used manure for fertilizer a lot on the campus.
Organic fertilizer.
In those years. And when they put all the water on them, the campus had a certain smell to it that you knew where you were. Mm-hmm. But Dr. Bennett's house is there by the parking garage where it was, and I remember when he passed on, and remember all of the presidents.
Were you a senior that year that he
No,
died?
I was a freshman.
A freshman, okay.
Yeah. I think he died in 46 or 7, maybe 47. He was involved with Ethiopia a great deal from the government. He'd been appointed. And,
did you ever meet Dr. Bennett or get a chance as a student to talk to him?
I never got to talk to him. I met him, but I never got to talk to him. And I knew several of the presidents.
Ken, what year did you graduate?
1950.
50? Was it a student union? Was it built at that time?
Yes, it was just built, and I was telling you earlier about the hailstorm that we had. We were going to Yost Lake, several of my buddies, and we were going to have a picnic out there with dates. And that big black cloud came in from the west, and that was the worst hailstorm I've ever been in.
Wow.
And fortunately, we stayed in our dorm, but I went up and looked at the hail coming down. We had Quonset huts beside the building at Thatcher then, and you couldn't hear yourself think because the noise. And my friend with the convertible, it was just going through the top of his car and hitting the seats and bouncing up, and it was quite interesting. But one of my buddies who lived back east that was going, he says, "Oh, it won't hail any." And he said, "Let's plan on going." And I said, "No, I'm not planning on going." And it's a good thing we did.
So, and Yost a pretty favorite spot for students?
Yes, it was.
Can you explain about where it was and what Yost?
Well, it's up north of 177 and back to the east, and the dam on it was the old right of way for the Santa Fe going to Pawnee, and they created a lake there, and a lot of people from Stillwater had cabins there, and they had a pavilion and kind of a dance area, and a lot of students used to go up there. I remember one time, one of my friends and we were going to have a chili supper up there, and his parents were in the grocery business in Putnam City, and so I went down and spent the night with him, and we'd gotten the chili and we put it on the front porch. Well, we came back to Stillwater without the chili. His mother had found it on the front porch and put it in the refrigerator and forgot to tell us. So that chili party didn't come off.
Yeah. Well, Ken, there are a lot of changes. When you came there in 46, we had a huge influx at Oklahoma State in those years of GIs coming back.
Right.
Well, what was that like? And do you remember what the campus was like?
I don't remember exactly what the enrollment was in 45, but it was much smaller because the class of 46, the incoming class in 46 was 10,000, and nearly all of those were veterans. And my roommate, he only lasted one semester. He fell in love, and he lasted one semester, but he was on the GI Bill. And he was an engineer. I remember all the equipment that he had, but he lasted one semester and went home and got married.
What, I understand that there's a lot of temporary buildings brought on campus, concepts.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
on. Of course, Vet Village, all of the housing up there. Could you describe that a little bit, what that was like?
Well, Vet Village had a gymnasium that they got from the Army someplace. It was a pretty nice gym till it rained and the roof leaked. And if you've ever tried to play basketball on a floor where the roof is leaked, we were playing them. It was right after I got out of college. I was involved in a hometown basketball team, and we'd scheduled them and came over here to play, and we had to quit the game because it was dry inside except the roof leaked all over the floor, and somebody was going to break their neck, and so by mutual agreement, we quit.
Vet Village was short for Veterans Village.
Veterans Village.
So mainly guys, veterans come back from
Right,
the war.
they were all veterans that lived out there.
I understand they had a post office out there
Yes,
also.
they had a little city, and lots of them were married. And one of my good friends in Guthrie, he and his wife were married and lived out there. He's up in years, not here for too long. But,
and a lot of even some of the teaching facilities on campus were in Quonset, old Quonset.
Right. Quonset huts seemed to be a good bargain. And Dr. Chapman, I had his Oklahoma history class in a Quonset hut right there by Thatcher Hall.
Those were not air conditioned and were not heated very well in the winter either, were they?
Nothing. Very well. But it was a great experience.
So, can you share some of your favorite memories of your time at Oklahoma State University and some times that stand out for you?
Oh, I remember a lot of the things that we had on our our Allied Arts cards. We got you bought an Allied Arts ticket, and the various shows that they had here over in Gallagher. You got in to every other one the way it was. It was odd or even. And I remember, I guess it was my senior year, Tommy Dorsey's band was here, and I, believe it or not, had a date. And went to that, and Spike Jones, he got to go back a ways if he can remember some of those outfits, but they were types of entertainment that the university brought in.
So singers and bands and different groups.
Yeah.
Well, now, when you're talking about the, and Bob, I was going to ask you, was Jimmy Baker's band on campus that time?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of people remember Jimmy Baker,
Yep.
and his
Yep.
band played in the ballroom, played at the, what was the room over there in the campus corner up above? Was Fiscus? Was it Fiscus Hall?
I don't remember, but I was there.
Yeah. Well, also made me think about when you're talking about the odd and even. Did you students in those days when you're at the basketball and wrestling matches? Did they also have that odd and even night?
Right.
So if your
Right.
student ID ended in an odd number and even number,
I don't remember just how it worked.
Like it was an odd number, you could go to the first, third, and fifth games.
This was an odd game or an even game, and that way they were able to get everybody in. Otherwise, it would have been total chaos.
I recall that not only basketball, but wrestling would just about fill the Gallagher Hall, called Gallagher Hall at the time.
I have a particular wrestling story that happened many years later. I had broken my leg with my friend Oris Taylor. Our sons had some sheep, and we'd been to a wrestling match in Guthrie, and we went to after the match to go put the sheep up. It was cold. I was wearing boots, and we had one flashlight between us, and Oris took the flashlight, but he didn't tell me that he had this big pile of brush out in his yard. It was dark. I stepped in it. I could step in it 100 times and never do anything, but I stepped in and snapped my ankle, this right ankle, and had to go to the hospital, the old hospital in Guthrie, but I was still on those crutches. And we came to a wrestling match over at Stillwater here when we were wrestling OU. And I came with a friend who barely attended OSU, but he always considered OSU. And his son, who was mayor for many years of Guthrie, was with us. And he bleeds, dyes, and everything else red. And the dad and the son got into a big argument over at Gallagher Iowa. The students all took the point of the dad and were going to kill the son, and I was caught in the middle of it. They were going to tar and feather him, I think, and I was caught with crutches and a cast up to my knee almost, and I'll never forget that. We finally calmed them down when they finally realized it was father and son that were arguing about the wrestling match.
That's great. Well, so you graduated in 51?
1950.
1950, okay. Can you kind of trace your career, maybe some brief highlights of your career after you left Oklahoma State?
Sure. I graduated in the spring of 1950. Jobs were very hard to get. I had my heart and soul on going to work for Phillips Petroleum Company because they were national AAU basketball champions. They had a new gymnasium, they had a new swimming pool and all. And I went up there and got an interview, and the guy that was one of the vice presidents had played basketball there, and he's a graduate of the University of Kansas, and he was just the greatest guy. Showed me all around everything, and then he told me what I didn't want to hear, that the Korean War was just breaking out, and said, we're not hiring anybody. We have a freeze. We're hiring 7 engineers, and that's all we're going to hire. And so I didn't get that job. I tried in Tulsa to get oil and gas jobs. I didn't ever want to work for a newspaper. I'd made up my mind that wasn't going anywhere.
So you were thinking about journalism, but with the
Right.
private, with the private industry.
Right. So I came back home, laid around home a lot. My grandmother had a good prod, and she was using it on me to get me to go to work someplace. She thought I was laying around too much. So I had a couple other buddies that one had graduated from OSU, and the other one had languished here. He'd flunked first course in econ 5 times, and he'd been on campus a long time. And the other one, and I said, I think I can find us a job. And I said, you guys want to go with me? They said, yeah. We went down to Davis, Oklahoma, to the YMCA Camp Classen. And I got all 3 of us a job as counselors. And so we spent the summer of 1950, what was left of it, as counselors at the YMCA camp, and had a good time doing that. Got home, didn't have my suitcase down, and my grandmother told me that the superintendent of schools was calling for me. He'd known me from summer activities program, and we later became partners in business, some business. And she made me go right on up and take to find out just exactly what I was going to get into. They needed a clerk of the Board of Education. The clerk was going to the high school, Guthrie High School, as a principal. And so they needed to fill this, which I didn't know what all I was getting into. And I was clerk of the Board of Education, and I was truant officer. That was an experience. Because Guthrie had an area that poor people lived in, and they didn't care whether kids went to school or not, and some of them couldn't afford to send their kids to school. And so they kept me pretty busy as a truant officer. It wouldn't work today because you can't tell whether a kid is supposed to be in school or is homeschooled. And so, but that was my job. And so I went to work for the school district. I signed for an airplane, which we used in one of the courses. Came back to haunt me several years later because my name was on that airplane. They were trying to get rid of it, and they were tracking me down. But anyhow, I lasted from September of 1950 till January of 1952. And I did not have a degree, a teaching degree. And so the superintendent got me enrolled in a class, extension class from OSU, so I could qualify as a temporary teacher, get my temporary.
Ken, who's this individual superintendent you're referring to?
Mr. Cecil Crooks.
Cecil
Crooks.
Okay.
He coached, he was superintendent and sole and only coach of our high school football team in 1944. Coached it by himself and was superintendent of schools. But anyhow, the gentleman that was the president of the Board of Education had seen me and what I was doing, and they were interested. His partner, I did not know it at the time, was wanting to get out of the abstract business. And so they made me an offer. I taught one class in journalism in high school. And then they wanted me to come to work for the abstract company. I didn't tell you what my first job in Guthrie Public Schools paid. it paid $150 a month. And the teachers, and I had 3 of them that were my classmates from here who came over there and started teaching that same year, but the teachers made $2,100 a year, which we've come a long way. But anyhow, I went to work for the abstract company. I'd never seen an abstract in my life. And I spent 50 years, 7 months, and 20 days before I retired.
Was that Gelsma?
Gelsma Abstract Company. That was a family name. The president of the school board, his wife was a Gelsma. And they brought him in when Mr. Gelsma died. He suddenly, after a hunting accident trip, and he was not schooled in abstracting. I wasn't either, but I had a teacher that was with me every day for almost 2 years, and then he sold me his interest in the company. And it was a pretty tough struggle for a long time, but
it's quite a change for you. I mean, a lot to learn. Were there any, at that time, were there any qualifications you had to be certified or tested?
Later we had to have a license. And, but I had some good attorneys in Guthrie. One of them had been in law school with my dad at OU, who kind of took me under their wing. And when I had a question that I didn't understand or what I should be doing, I'd call them. And they were very helpful to me to help me get through those first years. And I had a good career in the abstract business.
You wound up being a partner in the firm?
Yeah, I was a partner, yes. And then I was president of the Oklahoma Land Title Association. I was back to back. I can't remember which was which. The Alumni Association, I was going through the chairs of both of them at the same time. And the Oklahoma Land Title Association, and 1 year apart.
Pretty busy years there for you. So, Ken, let me back up and ask, I know you're probably too much to say this, but you're probably one of the most recognized and well-known individuals in the Guthrie community. I mean, over 50 plus years, 60 years, maybe more, you've been very involved. Would you mind sharing some of the highlights of some things your community involvements and activities you've been a part of? Okay.
I told you that instead of a resume, I was bringing my obituary over here to you because that has all those, the number of years, but I'll kind of refresh my memory a little bit. I served on the school board for 22 years. I don't think anybody in Guthrie had ever served that long. I ran out of kids, and I decided this time I need to get out. And I have been involved with the volunteering. Started back in 1950 or 51 when we had Red Feather Drives, which were the predecessor of the United Way. And then we had Guthrie Community Chest, which was a step in between. I've been involved with those since college.
For 60 years now.
Yeah, and I've been president, I guess, for about 10 years. I've been drive chairman and on the board prior to that of the United Way. I've been twice commander of the American Legion. I've been a member for 61 years. I'm a Blue Lodge Mason, have been for about pretty close to 60 years now. I'm a Scottish Rite Mason, have been for almost 60 years. I'm a 33rd degree Mason and have been for 5 or 6 years now. And I used to direct the 31st degree team. I was the leader of the team, coach. I have told you this today, but I have not missed a home football game in Stillwater since 1946.
And you wait a minute. You got to say that again. You have not missed a single
home football game
since
1946.
Wow.
And I've had 2 close calls, and you were a part of helping me with one of them when I had back surgery. I couldn't get into the stadium, and you got me a seat in the press box, and by going up on the elevator. And the other one, my son and daughter-in-law were going to get married, and it was when we were playing Kansas back many years ago, and they had the wedding on a home date, and we had to go through quite a bit to change that because I wasn't going, but I've kept
you weren't going to the wedding.
I wasn't going to the wedding, but I kept my streak alive. And
what did your daughter feel about? How did she feel about that? Was it your daughter you're talking about?
It was my daughter-in-law.
Okay.
It was my son.
Oh, your son.
He wasn't bothering him that much. But anyhow, I've been a member of the Methodist Church since 1939. I joined when I was 12. I have done lots of things in Guthrie. I've been president of the Chamber of Commerce. I've been chairman of the 89er celebration twice. I've been commander of the American Legion twice. And I've kept busy.
Is there anything you haven't done in the
Well, I don't know, but I've enjoyed my life, and I enjoy helping people. Right now, I have people saying Dad died back in so-and-so, and we think he had some royalty under this place or something, and we need to know what he owned. And so I do that kind of work for them. I do it for oil companies who I've got a few customers still that want me to do ownerships, determine who all the owners are under 160 acres and where their addresses are. I do a lot of that. I just keep real busy in things that I try to do.
So you officially retired 8 years ago, right? But you're
Yes.
still staying pretty busy with these activities.
Yes.
That's great. Well, Ken, let me ask you one other question about Guthrie and your participation, civic participation. One of the things Guthrie's known for is its historical district. It's been really a key feature. Were you involved in
Yes.
that?
I was.
I couldn't imagine you not being.
Yes,
Kind of what was your role in that?
I have been.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention that I'm a past president of the Lions Club. I've got, let's see, I joined in 1951. So that's 59 years as a member of the Lions Club.
Ken, we were talking about, you said something about your city council experience too, maybe?
I filled an unexpired term. The mayor asked me to take this guy's place that had problems. He'd had a few arrests and had some problems fulfilling his duties on the city council, and I took it kind of reluctantly, but I enjoyed my experience, except I left a mic open one night that was open, and I made a remark about some people that the only reason that they were in this trailer house was because they couldn't afford anything else, and I got to apologize to the people on camera and all for that, but that was my real bad moment.
Well, how many years did you serve?
2.5 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
This guy moved to Chicago, and he was a character.
Mm-hmm.
He had no business ever being on the city council. The mayor, the one I told you about, father and son that got into the battle over the OSU and OU wrestling, is the one that asked me to do that. We're good friends, despite he's the biggest OU fan. In fact, he and I were on television a few years ago down at the park. It was the anniversary of the first game between OU and OSU was held in Mineral Wells Park in Guthrie, and that we raised the money for a monument for that, and John and I were on television together.
What year was that? Around 1900 or so, was it?
Not too many years ago. Yeah.
Okay. What again? We were talking earlier a little bit about the historical district, and you were talking about your role in helping get that established. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, somebody came along and decided that Guthrie needed to change its image. They came up with the aluminum fronts that Woodward and some other towns had come up with, and that Guthrie should make that change. And so all of our historic buildings were covered with the aluminum facade. And Ralph McCalmont came to Guthrie and bought the First National Bank of Guthrie, and I was on his board. And Ralph was a historian, and he said the first thing we need to do is get rid of all of that and restore all these old buildings. And so he led that movement, and I was a part of it when we took all the old aluminum fronts off of the buildings.
And what years were those, do you recall?
Well, I remember Ralph put together a slideshow and program, and when I was president of the Oklahoma Land Title Association, we had my convention that year in Tulsa, and I had him present that with Jay Hanna. You know Jay. And he and Jay came and did that as a program. And so that would have had to have been about 1980. I was either president in 80 or 81 of the Oklahoma Land Title Association. And I just gotten off being president of the OSU Alumni Association.
And at that time, back in the 80s, there was a strong movement towards historical preservation.
Right. And there was money that the government made available for people to help them with. I didn't get in on it on the historical building that I owned in Guthrie. I owned I owned a couple of them, but the old Crest building and the Tallman livery stable, which is now the Stables Restaurant in Guthrie. And I didn't get a dime for anything. We didn't do something right, but we didn't get any money, but we restored those buildings.
It's a great story, though, how Guthrie built that, and you were part of that and helped get that done. Well, you're around here, you're pretty well known also at Oklahoma State University. Well,
I have a lot of friends.
You're pretty key, I know, in Guthrie, but you've served many years in numerous leadership roles in the Alumni Association, as you indicated, including your 10 years national president. So let's talk a little bit about your Alumni Association experiences, okay?
Okay.
When did your service begin? When did you first get involved?
As I recall, my wife Jane and I were married in June of 1959, and I had apparently was already active in the Logan County Alumni Association, and they had elected me as to be on the board over here.
Were you ever chapter president of the county?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I think I moved from that position probably over here, and I became on the board in 1959.
Okay.
And I remember the trembling in my bones of going into that group where I thought I didn't know anybody, and my first day. And Merle Rogers at that time had name plates for each of us where we would sit, and that helped carry me over that a lot. And I had a few members, and I don't remember that I was in school with or knew, but it was a different group than we have today as the leadership of the Oklahoma State Alumni Association.
Let me back up and ask you, do you recall some of the activities and programs you had at the local chapter level there in Logan County?
Yes. Merle was a great guy in believing that each county should have its own organization. And for several years in Logan County, we had good leadership and we had honors banquets that where the people of Logan County each invited a prospect to come to OSU out of the senior class of Guthrie High School. And I remember taking several girls, and I don't know whether I had any boys or not, but girls, to those banquets.
And these started off inviting seniors, then did they move to juniors then later?
Yes.
You'd invite, and
Yes.
like the top 10 or 20% of the class?
Right.
Okay.
And those were always nice events. I think it got pretty hectic for the Alumni Association because a lot of people wanted to have them close to the same time, and maybe one would be in the adjoining county and the next one would be out in the Panhandle someplace, and it was very difficult, but they did a wonderful job in making that program work, and it worked for a lot of years.
And what was, can you kind of tell me a little bit what the honors banquet program was like?
The honors banquet, we always got a good speaker. The Alumni Association did off of the campus. It may have been one of the vice presidents or a teacher,
Dean or somebody,
or someone as a motivator to try to talk those kids into coming to Oklahoma State and to learning about what they had to do to get themselves enrolled and what the process was going to be. And we as alumni went to their homes, went out, got them, brought them to the thing, and then took them home immediately after the program. But it was a nice affair.
Yeah, and I remember there used to be a film they'd show.
Yes.
And each year
they had all kinds of gimmicks to try to entice those kids to come to Oklahoma State.
The Alumni Association put together this sort of, if you will, kind of promotional recruiting film, and then they would show it at the banquet. Is that right?
Right.
And did your chapter have entertainment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we had entertainment, and the Alumni Association brought all kinds of decorations. They furnished all the decorations to make the thing look festive and make you feel like you wanted to come to Oklahoma State.
One time they had about 60 some odd of those that covered nearly all the counties of the state, didn't they?
And then we had Merle branched out and had some foreign big cities, other cities having a similar type thing, only trying to get all the alums from that particular area together and get them to become members of the OSU Alumni Association.
As I recall, a lot of alumni that come to those really enjoyed the film as much as the prospective students did. They kind of get highlights of the previous year and some things. That's great. Was the concept of we used to call them clubs and then chapters later, but the county chapter was sort of built on the land grant county extension model, where every county kind of had an OSU.
A lot of counties did an excellent job in finding leadership within their counties. So where it failed and didn't do well was a lack of leadership in certain counties. That's a broad brush I'm painting with, but that's what happened. A lot of people, and after they'd run it several years, the people in the background saw how much work was going to be involved in putting the thing together, and so they backed off. And so you didn't always get good leadership, but it was a good program.
Speaking of leadership, you mentioned Merle Rogers. Tell me a little bit about Merle Rogers. Some of his personality traits, and Merle kind of background. He was 25 years was his title. Then was executive director of the Alumni Association. I guess he come in about the time around 1955 when you were getting involved with the Alumni Association. But what do you remember about Merle? Can you tell me some things about him?
Merle was one of the most dynamic men that I ever met in my lifetime. He was a bundle of energy, just all wrapped up, and he lived and died virtually for the OSU Alumni Association. He'd come from Hugo, as I recall, and he put together a program to not only enlist grads into becoming a part of the OSU Alumni Association. And it was very primitive compared to today's computer operation of how to call up those names and all. And it took a lot of space in the office.
You know, the addresses, alumni, talking about.
Yeah, that took up a lot of space. But he had people assigned to that job, probably far more than you would need today, even with a lot less numbers. But he was a pioneer, and he had a lot of great ideas. And of course, his number one idea was these honors banquets that we were putting on all over the state, and he wanted one in every county, and wanted two counties to combine where we couldn't get enough interest in one. And he kept a staff of people, and he kept them motivated to going and putting these things on. And I don't know how the speakers, sometimes they traveled with the alumni people, or sometimes they traveled on their own. But it was a wonderful program, and it certainly introduced a lot of people to the OSU Alumni Association, and it's the foundation that we know today.
You have some favorite Merle Rogers stories?
Well, I've told you one, but I'll change it a little bit. But he had a member that was going on the trip to Arizona, and he had apparently told Merle that he was taking his girlfriend with him, and they were not married. And Merle said, "That's fine, but you'll have two rooms." And he was very much a stickler for seeing that the right impression was given to everybody around. He says, "I don't care what you do after you get to your room, but you're going to have and pay for two rooms." And that was I could embellish that a little bit. That's enough to know about it. And that happened not once with the same individual, but I recall a trip to Colorado that we were on, that he had the same problem, and a different girlfriend again at that time. But Merle ran a tight ship, and he wasn't interested in making things look bad for the rest of the Alumni Association. And
did you ever go on any of the trips with Merle? Travel those tours they'd take, alumni?
Merle was very kind to Jane and I the year I was president of the Alumni Association. We were still in the Big 8, not the Big 12. And we had a trip scheduled on the QE2 through the Panama Canal.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah.
Luxury liner.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he told me, and this may have just been a story he made up, that he needed Jane and I to host that, and it would all be paid for by the Alumni Association, which was a wonderful thing. And we went on that trip, and it was a wonderful trip. Our accommodations weren't the best that the QET had, but they were inside. That's the first time and only time I've ever stayed inside, and but it was very nice of him to do, and we got acquainted with a lot of good alums from Oklahoma State that went on that trip, and that was a wonderful trip. I'll tell one more story about Merle that tells you what kind of an individual he was. Oklahoma State used to play Arkansas every year at Little Rock, and we decided this one year that we were going to stay in Hot Springs and at the Arlington Hotel. Well, I had a friend in Guthrie that owned a hotel, and he had just been on a trip over there, and he quoted me the price that they gave him on the hotel. Well, I was a little green at the time, and I did not multiply that room charge twice for two people being in the room. Well, I got over there, and we checked into the hotel, and we were going to the Vapors, which was a nightclub right next door, to eat and see the show. I think I was a little sick, not green, maybe, but scared. When I looked at that price, because I had filled the bus up with people from Guthrie and from Stillwater, and I'd only charged them half enough for the room. And I didn't have the money. And it was days before I ever carried a credit card. And I thought I was going to be washing dishes over there. And I went to Merle, and I was sick that night. It just hit me that I'd done it wrong, and I was absolutely wrong. And Merle says, "Oh, Kenneth, don't worry about it." He said, "The Alumni Association will take care of it." And it took a big, big weight off of my shoulders, and I will ever be indebted to him for that, because I don't know what I would have done. I don't know how I would have tried to talk my way through that, but that was the kind of a person that he was, and he didn't have to take me off the hook. He did it himself, and I always admired the man for that.
You were president, I think, in 79?
I think
80?
79 and 80.
And that wasn't that Merle's last year as executive director? And then Ray Sharp, who'd been with him for, gosh, probably 13 years, took over. What can you tell me about Ray Sharp? What do you remember about Ray?
Well, I remember that we had a number of applicants for the job from all over the United States. The committee that had been appointed, and I don't remember who all was on that committee, but we narrowed the field down to 5. And as I recall, we scheduled them all one week, one a day, to interview about the job. But the thing I remember most, that we had the same meal all 5 days, same sandwich, same potato chips, and iced tea. Everything was the same. He didn't want anything to show partiality to anybody. So we ate the same thing all 5 times that we had people, and the committee decided that Ray Sharp probably could fit the bill, and Ray did it for a number of years. I don't remember how many, but I remember being in Colorado, Denver, and Ray had some kind of a seizure while we were out there. I think it was anxiety, probably more than anything. too much pressure for him, and that's when he decided to get out. And but Merle had guided him and groomed him, and we felt like as a committee that he ought to be given the opportunity to try.
Sure. Do you mind speaking this? I've just heard that Ray was the only OSU alum kind of in that final running maybe, and there was some concern that we needed somebody with an OSU background. His executive director was that
was part of the consideration, certainly.
Do you remember any other candidates that years ago, but just
a long time ago?
Okay. Well, so you served. Gosh, you were probably on the, not counting, as a past president, you served as ex officio member of the board as well. But before that, you served probably 15 years or so on the board. You executive
committee I think I first came on the board in 1959, and I stayed on the board. I think I was elected all those years up to 1979.
Yeah, so 20 years.
About 20 years.
21 years, wow. Well,
I used to have to run against somebody from Kingfisher County. Of course, we were the dominant county. We had more alums than they did at that time, and that's why I got elected.
In those days, it changed. In those days, you actually had by ballot. I mean, you actually had an election, correct?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that was sort of an interesting process each year. And I think they changed that a little bit after some years after you were president, which probably made sense because you didn't.
It wasn't fair. Wasn't fair to the people in Kingfisher County. They needed their own representative because that's a good, strong county.
That's how Paul Schultz finally got on there, I guess.
Yeah.
Here, Paul. Well, do you remember some of the alumni leaders you worked with during that period? During particularly when you were president and then when you were on the executive committee. Do you remember some of the names of the individuals you remember that you worked closely with?
Oh yes, there were a lot of people. Mel Jones certainly comes to the head of the list because one of the great leaders that the Alumni Association has ever had, and I so admired that man. And
so did you work with Glenn Yon? Was he in that era?
Yeah, Glenn and I became real good friends. We traveled together, Glenn and Eleanor and Jane and I, on lots of trips together. And my friend Oris Taylor, of course, was on the board, the past president too.
From Guthrie and Oris.
Guthrie, my neighbor, and Oris and Veldo Brewer was another stalwart.
Great one, yeah.
That I knew.
Around your area, I'm trying to think, was Pete Bartlett, Fred Thompson?
Pete Bartlett and Fred Thompson both. Pete was an outstanding man.
Named the Bartlett Center for Performing Arts after.
His brother was in school with me, and I still get together with him once in a while.
Okay.
That was catcher on our baseball team, and when I was a senior, and he lives in Tulsa. He's not in good health, but
Enos Van was around your area, I think. Was Enos Van?
Enos followed me. He was from Muskogee, and he was. Everyone was a different individual. They brought a little bit different something different to the table as leader. If you could roll them all up together, you'd had a wonderful, wonderful time. I'm not saying anything against anybody, but the leadership was there, and it all differed. We weren't alike.
Yeah. I think Jim Cobb was
Jim Cobb. I see him every football game. He didn't see me Saturday night, but I saw him come in. Saw him a couple of times.
So some really strong leaders, and
yes,
and like I said, different personalities.
Right, they're different personalities, styles. Different ways that they operated it, and I have been impressed during your regime of the type of people, a younger group, more or less, that took the reins and ran the wagon down the road. and they were outstanding people.
You know, that's been one of the strengths Alumni Association had through the years is the volunteer leadership has been very active and very engaged and very involved in helping lead and to run the association. I always had a good, strong staff, but always paired that with real good volunteer leadership.
Right.
Well, we talked about earlier, Ken, this sort of transitional period from Merle to Ray and the university, a lot of things were happening. Can you recall what some of the issues were at that time? I'm not thinking about programs necessarily, but issues and challenges of the association during that period. Maybe its relationship with the university, with other units, board issues, etc.
Money was always a problem. The question of what to charge for a life membership kept cropping up during those early years. I got in on $100, and that's far cry from what it is today. And but those questions and money, and during your administration, we got credit card money. That was a coup and a half for the Alumni Association. Where are we on that? Is it all gone now?
No, they still got about another 3 or 4 years left on the contract, and that was a $10 million contract.
Right.
We had two different kinds. We had the Stillwater National Bank, and then we went with the larger. I think the name of it now was First USA, I think, and that wound up being a $10 million deal.
Yeah, that was a great move. It certainly helped the Alumni Association over a tough spot. And
what was the relationship with the university during those times? Good.
Well, one of the problems that we had in those early days, as I recall, was the relationship between the foundation and the Alumni Association. The foundation was raising money on one hand and seemingly not helping put members back over here to the Alumni Association on the other hand. And of course they were located fairly close together in those days. They were there in the student union.
Right.
And that was always kind of a raw spot that didn't always set well with the leadership. But I think that has come a long way, and since they moved over to their other place, I don't know how much they help. I've not been that active in it in recent years to know.
Who was trying to think who was president of the university when you were president of the Alumni Association? Was
Boger.
Larry Boger. And there've been different presidents have had different philosophies about and expectations for the role of alumni in the Alumni Association.
Right. Larry Boger was a good leader, I thought. I went on a trip. Well, no, wait a minute. No, it was a trip that I was on with Larry Boger. He wasn't the president when I was, as I recall. I don't even remember who it was. But I went to Wyoming with him. I won the Posse Award for selling the most memberships to the Posse, and I got to go with the team and fly. That was when
Was Bob calm, was it?
it probably was.
Bob was very supportive of the
But Larry was on this trip, and we went to some place to eat. He was just a different individual. He led the singing, and we had a lot of fun. And we had coaches' wives and all with us. But he was not the president. Must have been Bob.
Well, or could have been John Campbell, maybe after him.
Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the key? We talked about some of the key programs and goals of the association at that time. We talked about the honors banquets and talked about life membership programs. Some other activities during your presidential era.
Well, homecoming was always a big factor, and I had to take my hat off to those people because I've been involved in a lot of parades, and they have done an excellent job throughout the years. But you got a lot more people to pick from than I had. Not when I was with the Alumni Association, but at home. It makes a difference if you've got good, fired up young people ready to help with that thing, and they do an excellent job.
Ken, what do you remember about HEACO? Was that going strong time, the higher education?
Yeah, I got involved in that. I went a few times to that.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it was?
The higher education. The idea was to have contacts with people in the legislature and to help them help us. And
help promote OSU and higher education issues.
Higher education issues. And some years, I think it was better than others, the leadership in getting it done. And maybe that was part of the problem with the people in Oklahoma City. It was different.
Okay. I think student awards were pretty big that time, and alumni awards.
The top 10 students. I remember that two of my friends, Rob Hudson and Steve Davis, were selected as part of the top 10, and that in those days it was just 5 and 5. So
5 men, 5 women.
Yeah. So I always referred to them as 40% of the top students at OSU were from Guthrie.
That's good. Were you part of when Merle was working on getting the turnpike?
Yes, he got almost single-handedly got 51 paved, 4 lanes coming into Guthrie, and he spent an awful lot of time in getting that done, and it didn't get it done any before it needed to be done.
And that Cimarron Turnpike there, he was going to bypass Stillwater, and he got a spur in Stillwater. But Merle certainly individually with the Alumni Association was very involved in that program.
Right. He involved a lot of people where he could pull the strings and push them towards the people that had the power.
Well, just sort of reflecting a little more in general terms, Ken, how do you feel about the engagement of alumni on behalf of the university? I mean, how important is that to advancing the university?
I think it's very important, and I think there's a very close relationship between how well our athletic teams do and how many people pay their membership dues. I think that's closer than most people think. I think their attitude towards the university is a whole lot the way that the athletic teams have performed.
Well, what ways do you think alumni engage, things they do for the university, and what's legitimate roles of alumni in supporting the university?
Well, a lot of people maybe had a bad experience of some sort or another while they were in school. Teachers didn't get the grades they wanted, whatever it might be. Those people, for the most part, are always going to be hard to get any money out of, to get them to join the Alumni Association, to get them to give to the foundation. That's kind of a group that I think you just kind of mark off. But you need to cultivate the people that have had good experiences. You have to ferret them out, find them, and cultivate them to helping. One of the things that I always, and I think Merle did this once or twice, invited all of the presidents of the county clubs to come to a meeting in Stillwater for orientation.
Right.
And I think that's great. But it's a changed proposition now. We're not doing those things. But I think the Alumni Association needs to bring in key leaders, maybe in groups, not the whole state, areas at a time, and bring them in and show them that building over there. A lot of people have never been in that building.
At the Alumni Center building.
Alumni Center. They need to bring those people in, key people, feed them, and just take part of the states in the same geographic area and bring them in together, because people in the same geographic area generally have the same concerns. It's not always true, but they have a lot of the same concerns over the university, the direction it's headed. And I think that Larry needs to bring those groups in on quarterly basis or something like that. Just divide the state up, invite the key leaders in, and give them an orientation of what's going on. I was most impressed with one of the early meetings that we had over there. You were still in charge, and it showed the building, when it was going to need a new roof, when it was going to need new carpet, when you were going to paint it. Those kind of things apply to anybody's business. Most people don't do it. But that move was one of the great moves I've ever seen the Alumni Association do, because it's laid out in front of you. When I was on the school board, we were always having trouble with flat roofs. The architects always built flat roofs. And I'd go up to the school and I'd say, I'd like to see the warranties on all of the roofs in the school system. They didn't know what I was talking about. You know, that sort of thing applies back in your hometown. You can carry that information back to your hometown, and the things that are important to the people of your hometown that you picked up from the Alumni Association.
Again, kind of you're saying one of the legitimate roles of the Alumni Association should be to keep alumni informed of the issues and what's going on at the university.
Right. That's just one part of it.
And then what about, we were talking about honors rankings, student recruitment, is that effective?
That's part of it. That's part of it. When you bring the leaders in from those various counties around, they don't have to be all in conglomerate, but just divide the state up where you can do it about once a quarter, and then try and do it about every 3 or 4 years. Bring in a new crew to find out what's going on the university. I think it's money well spent, and it wouldn't hurt at all to have somebody on the program from the foundation to be a part of the thing and speak about that part of it.
Ken, from your perspective and your leadership experience over the years, generally what should be the mission and purposes of the Alumni Association?
To bring people to the university, to keep them a part of helping the university alive and viable, and to help them bring the students from their home counties, to encourage them and things that they can do. I think that's one of the things that need to be taken. What can an adult do to help bring a student to Oklahoma State? Now, I know Veldo used to load them up in his car and bring them up here and show them. Well, not everybody's a Veldo, but it needs to be planned with purposes for each segment of what they talk to those people about.
So I hear you saying it's important to kind of keep alumni informed, to connect alumni to each other, connect alumni to the university, help recruit students.
You might want to do it as a part of the basketball schedule, if they have enough seats that could be worked out, as far as suites are concerned. You could put so many in each suite. And just entertain those leaders, and those leaders will respond, I think.
Ken, let me sort of a little bit different question. What do you feel is the correct organizational structure for Alumni Association and its alignment with the university? What should the nature of that relationship be in that alignment?
Well, one of the problems that's always been there, and you know it as well as I do, is the faculty. The relationship with the faculty. The faculty kind of lives off over here by themselves and are not encouraged to become a part of the alumni. They may have come from Illinois or North Carolina or Florida or someplace, and so they don't feel like they have any real allegiance to Oklahoma State. Their main feelings are that our salaries are too low, and the football coaches, the basketball coaches are making too much money, and so there's a jealousy.
Ken, let me kind of take me in a little bit different direction. How independent, dependent, what should be in its role as an organization, as an association? Should it be under the umbrella of the university? Should it be partners with the university? What should be its relationship with the foundation? How do you feel about those, what I call organizational structures?
I think they all ought to be partners, all part of the same team, pulling in the same direction. And that's hard to do, and it's real easy to talk about, but it's a lot harder to make it work. But I think that there needs to be efforts made. It won't be an overnight thing, but to get all segments of the university kind of pulling together in one and understanding what the Alumni Association is trying to do.
We talked a lot about it over the years. I know your group did. It's been going on for years and years. Alumni Association, what we call being a self-governed association, and the alumni should govern the Alumni Association. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that's true. But I also think that the rest of the university needs to have representation of finding out what the Alumni Association is doing. Because if you're a teacher over here in history and don't pay any attention to anything but your classes, you don't know the direction that the university is trying to take and the Alumni Association is trying to take. They have their meetings, but I think they need to be melded together and work together.
Well, again, looking back in perspective, several years of Association, Alumni Association, can you share some special memories and some highlights of your time with the Alumni Association? Some special times that stand out in your mind, special events, things that were key for you?
Well, I've always been impressed with the leadership. And that to me has been very special. And I think that the Alumni Association, by and large, has done an excellent job in selecting leaders for the association to guide and direct the activities. There have been very few flukes in there, in my opinion. They've been good people. And I think during your regime, we got even better people. I know one of the things Merle told me. I don't even remember how many at-large appointments that I had, and everybody does. I think I would have felt more comfortable if they'd have been my appointments rather than Merle saying you ought to put so-and-so back on and so-and-so and so-and-so. He did that, and I accepted it because I figured he thought he was correct on it. But I think it would be better if the president himself was able to select without any pointing at these repeats. It's nice to have those people and not throw them off the board, but I just think the leadership has enough friends scattered around the state of Oklahoma that need to get involved in this and not keep repeating the same people whose roles don't change much.
I can hear what you're saying between the lines. You're right. Well, how do you feel about the future of the Alumni Association?
I think that there will always be a need. I think there will always be a need. I feel like that the push for membership has not been as strong as it needs to be. I think there needs to be more mailing pieces go out. I realize I'm spending money, but I find that people that are trying to get you to join, and they change it from time to time, the pitch a little bit. Something special going on. We're inviting you back for homecoming, and you hope that you will come over to our new building, and I hope that you will take part in this or this. I don't go. I've attended 64 homecomings, and I'm not out there to try to get my name before 50,000 people. That isn't my intent at all. I wouldn't want that, but I people that are kind of lukewarm towards the university, that haven't joined, that you'd like to get joined, need to have something special for them.
Ken, speaking of special during home ball games, how do you feel and think of alumni of your generation feel about the Alumni Center? And I've talked to several alumni leaders that have preceded, in my time, certainly said there'd been talk of Alumni Center for several years. And how do you feel and how do you think alumni feel about it?
I really don't feel like there have been enough opportunities for the fringe alums to come to that building. They have not come. And that's what I'm talking about, this where you invite them in to a dinner. It doesn't need to be a fancy dinner. It needs to be something that you bring those groups in, and I think they'll pay for themselves on the dinners and all. If you get them feeling like what's going on, and you tell them something that they haven't read in the newspaper yet, that the Alumni Association is doing.
Ken, going forward, talking about the future of the Alumni Association, there's some things that certainly, you always think about evolving and changing, you need to. But what have been the traditional strengths of the Alumni Association that you'd say, whatever you do, continue to build on these strengths?
Well, I think the strengths are in the leadership. I think the leadership points at certain things that you do, like homecoming. If the leadership embraces homecoming and helps with that and makes recommendations as to a voice in when are they going to have the parade, where are the floats going to be afterwards, and how do people come that didn't belong to a fraternity, a sorority, or lived in a public housing. How can you bring them in and make them feel more comfortable with the operation?
Good point. For you, a personal question, Ken. You remain closely connected to your alma mater ever since you graduated. For 60 years now, and for 30 of that, you were very much involved in the Alumni Association, or certainly 20 some odd years. You're so loyal to Oklahoma State University. Why has OSU been so important to you, and that you've given so much of your time and your talent and your energy to that over the years?
Well,
you have a huge amount of passion for this. Where'd it come from?
I feel like it's the education that I got here that has helped me through life. And it's a way for me to give back to those who have helped me. I feel the same way about the American Legion. I know the guys in World War I that were in World War I wrote the GI Bill of Rights for people like myself that got out in World War II. I feel extremely indebted to them because I couldn't have gone to college. We didn't have loans then as frequent, as easy to get to. I don't know how to go to college if I hadn't had the GI Bill. And so I try to give back. And the same way with the Alumni Association, I try to give back to the university what it gave to me. It gave me a foundation, a way to look at life and try to run my life with the principles that I learned here at Oklahoma State.
Looking back over the years, there's got to be some special memories for you. I mean, stand out in your mind. What are some of your special favorite OSU memories? Not about the Alumni Association, just OSU generally. One of them I'd have to say would be your record of how many years since 1946, never missing home football game. That's got to be one.
Well,
but other things.
I enjoyed all my classes that I had with Mr. Iba and Ralph Higgins. I learned a lot from both of them. I coached boys in basketball. I used to take all the black kids in Guthrie and take them down to Oklahoma City to play in the Salvation Army League on Saturday mornings because the Guthrie coaches didn't want them. It's before we had integration as we know it today. And I drove the old bus down there and I fed them hamburgers and stuff. And it's just me giving back. But a lot of it was things that I had learned from Mr. Iba. I probably wasn't the best coach in the world, but a lot of the things that I applied came from him. And then I coached baseball too. And for many years, 12 years, I guess, baseball. It's giving back.
How do you feel about the future of OSU, and how do you feel about Burns Hargis as president?
Well, I think Burns Hargis is an outstanding individual. I had him speak at a United Way dinner that we had, and he did an outstanding job. I think that his heart's with OSU, and he's going to grow. The area that he's got to grow in is learning how to deal with the legislature and getting the money that higher education needs to fulfill its program.
What, kind of concluding a little bit, what do you have any hobbies, activities you're involved in now? I mean, you talked about you still got your hand in real estate and some
my
stuff.
son and I, my oldest son and I, we have a piece of ground that's across the street from us that was about 45 acres that was just jungle. Oris Taylor had his cattle in there. And there were three owners, three individuals that owned it. One died and she left 3 heirs. Another one died and left 2 heirs. And another one never did die. His mother left it to him. And so I bought all 3 of them out. And then I took my son in as a partner, and we're going to have a development across the street from our house. We'll have about 25 houses. And that's what I'm working on right now.
Is that with the van?
What? No, this is Mark.
It's Mark, okay.
Mark's the one with the money. He's got more money than his dad ever dreamed to have. He's got all the Subway franchises, west of I-35 in Oklahoma.
Wow.
He makes more money than I ever dreamed of.
That's good. Well, we've talked an awful lot of things you've given to your community, to your university, to the Alumni Association. This is a serious question. Looking back over your lifetime, how do you hope people will remember Kenneth Mitchell?
Oh, I think most of them remember me incorrectly. A lot of them have the mistaken opinion that I have a lot of money, which is not true. I've had a tough time being an only child, and my mother had a degree in fine arts, piano playing. And during the 30s, she couldn't make a living teaching piano. People didn't have money to pay for and she had a very tough time. She was mortarboard and all of that stuff, but earning the dollars to put on the table was very difficult for her. And I came up through that, and I didn't start with anything. Nobody left me anything. My dad died. I think I got $35 out of it, and a watch and a knife, and that are attached. That's all I got. And when my mother died, she didn't have anything. She had my grandmother's house, which I got, and that's it. Everything else I've done on my own, and have been very financially successful, but I've earned a living, put 6 kids through school, but people look at me as that I have a lot of money, and I don't, and that bothers me that they think I have a lot of money and I don't.
Ken, let me take it a different twist. I think you're wealthy in a lot of ways in your friendships and relationships, and it seems to me a lot of people are going to remember you for all the service you've given, the things you've done to your fellow man, to your communities, to your university.
Well, yes, certain people that know.
I think you're being a little modest about that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, great. What?
I better go.
Okay.
My wife expects me to walk with her at a nursing home tonight.
Well, I want to just conclude. I was going to conclude by saying thank you for taking time, Ken, to be here. And thank you.
Sure.
Thank you
it's
for
been
all
a great
you've done.
day.
Well, thank you for all you've done with this university and for the Alumni Association.
I appreciate that, and it's been a great day.